Accessing Secure Channel. The Agent Files, where aspiring agents rise and masters flourish. Powered by Agent Builder Coaching. Mission initiated. File loading.
Hi there, this is Peter Fan for Agent Builder Coaching in our Agent Files podcast, the podcast for agents on a mission. And we kind of deliberately use this spy, secret agent type of theme and model, mainly because so many people think that real estate is kind of some sort of a secret society and secret handshake type of model. It really isn't, but we just wanted to play into that a little bit and have a little bit of fun with it. There isn't a very sophisticated ulterior motive to it, because really most of the stuff that we try to emphasize and teach in this program is really relatively essential in most businesses, if not all businesses. But in real estate, for whatever reason, the regulators, the organized real estate industry finds it either beneath themselves or not significant enough to actually teach it and make it a core component of the curriculum that you learn before you get licensed in this business. So we try to give you all of this stuff well in advance, hence the series about preparing yourself for getting licensed, the aspiring agents, the almost agent series, and now the Rookie Realtor series. And in this particular episode, we're going to touch on and repeat some of the stuff that we've touched on in the aspiring agent as well as in the almost agent section, but now it's real, right? We're going to deal with a business plan because, as we've said so many times, this is your business, not somebody else's business. It's your business, and you need to own it as such. You need to work with it as your business. Well, if you're going on a trip, and running a business is a trip, and it could be a very fun trip, by the way. Then one of the things you're going to do is prepare for the trip. Well, a business plan is an essential component of that journey plan, the trip plan. It is key to whatever happens. And if I can re-emphasize something, that there is no one reason why realtors fail, but I'll tell you that a lot of people fail because they just basically are going about it somewhat aimlessly, right? There is no particular focus as to this is what I want my business to look like if and when I have it running the way I want it to run. So if nothing else, if at the end of this session, or you kind of contemplating, analyzing, reviewing this session, you have become clear as to what you want your business to look like, if you can document that, if you can illustrate that, if you can use images, video, describe it on a piece of paper, put some substance to it, then that's at least the beginnings of, a real clear vision as to where you're going with this. And from that, we can then probably also work. But, ideally, I'd like you to put it on paper. Okay. So not for me, by the way, but you're not doing any of this stuff for me. This is for you. This is your business, right? And I'm serious about this. A lot of people are like, well, you're so heavy. Yeah, but I'm not heavy for me. I'm heavy because I've unfortunately seen way too many people take it the other way and listen to every other realtor that hasn't made a business plan and say, well, I got there without a business plan. Yeah, 1 in 1,000. Okay. The average agent, the agent that needs to work hard to make this work, needs to have a roadmap, and your business plan will be that. So no clear plan is definitely one reason why so many struggle. A lot of agents have no defined numbers. First of all, they don't even know what you're talking about when you talk about know your numbers, right? It's important that you understand the the math, the financial math, but also the logistical math as to what do you actually need to do, how many people do you need to talk to, when, how, where, why, and what that results into. Right? There's a distinct correlation between the number of connections that you have and the amount of money that you'll make. Now, it is different. The math is different for everybody. But if you don't track it, then you will never know what your math, what your numbers will look like, what your averages will look like, what your conversions will look like. Okay? It's a really important part. Again, if you don't have a plan, if you don't know the numbers, then you can't figure out what the rhythm is, what your operating rhythm is. What are you comfortable with? What kind of hours, what kind of days, where is your magic? Right? There's a magic mojo. There is definitely a rhythm to this business where you get into this momentum that allows you to generate results at much higher than expected levels. Not because you're doing something magical, but it is because you're doing something consistently. And that rhythm is very much a driving force to that consistency. Okay. I hope this makes sense. And we're going to go through all the details, but we'll touch on it here a little bit. So again, no plan, no paperwork, no documentation, no numbers, no data. There's no way to measure progress, right? And that typically means that you're going to respond, rather than be in the moment, be on point. There's, there is a need for you to be in control of this, right? Very much a need of that. So, so hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll have a really good understanding and logic, rationale to say, okay, I actually need to spend some time on this. And this doesn't have to take days or weeks. No, actually, the simplest business plan is probably 2 or 3 pages, but it gives you the core, right? And then from that, you can then start defining more articulated roles. Now, we have a very extensive business plan if you want to. In this particular episode, we're running off a very straightforward, very minimalistic version of a business plan, mainly because we want you to get into the habit of it, right? Into the routine of actually understanding all of these things. Okay. So this will be clear, simple, very defined onto income and production targets. We don't want to get into the more high level type of and very fancy development of business plans at this stage. You may get there at some point in time. It's important. I actually do think that it helps a lot of people in defining how they're going to run their business. But for the exercise of you getting from absolute rookie states to consistently producing, running a simplified business plan will get you going almost immediately. Okay. You want to run this business as self-managed as possible. Self-managed. That doesn't mean that you do all the work. No, it's managed, right? Okay. And it should give you, therefore, a framework that supports you along the way. And it's an important part where, ultimately you're going to evolve. Your business is going to grow. It's going to take on more and more task, roles, responsibilities. And the better you have all of this articulated and documented in some way, shape, or form, part of your business plan, it will make it much, much easier for you to develop operating procedures, to start finding assistance and support in areas where you don't want to operate, and then be able to start delegating some of these activities. Okay? So far, so good, right? So what are the core parts of a business plan? Well, first and foremost, is your business identity. So you and what? Are you working alone? Are you in the team? Are you what kind of broker support do you expect to want? Is it the personal or sole proprietorship? It is a corporation. How are you going to do this? Right? What does that look like, feel like, act like? And to some degree, you might want to think about what your personal abilities and or limitations are. Where are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats? A mini version of a SWOT analysis would not be a harmful thing, because you kind of want to know where you need assistance, right? What type of assistance do you need? Do you need a business coach? Do you need a technology person? Do you need a social media person? What do you need, right? So that only comes from really being aware of what your business identity, what your objectives are going to be. Okay, what are your income targets? That's pretty self-explanatory, of course, right? And the production math as to what activities, what numbers of activities do you actually need to produce to be in line with your income targets, right? Then figure out where your lead sources are. Right? Who are they? What are they? How are you going to deal with them? What are you going to provide? What services? What resources? What is your approach? And once you know what your lead sources are going to be, then you focus in, almost with a laser beam focus on what you need to do, what you need to have, what you need to know in order to really stand out in that target audience. Right? You don't need to know it all of all lead generation, or you just need to know the specifics and the real hardcore benefits that you need to provide in order for the leads to say, yes, I want to work with this agent. Okay. So that then leads almost automatically to what client experience you as an agent are going to provide, right? What we call the wow factor. How are you going to wow your clients? Right? And then what is your weekly schedule? How do you track things? Right? How do you review your systems, your tools, your operations, your mechanics, your supports, your services, and so on and so forth, so that you know that you're on track and that you're providing exemplary service. And then, I need to find the solutions for support and assistance, and do it all in a compliant structure. Right? No matter where you are in North America, you still have to be compliant to your regulators, to your brokerage, to common law, and so on and so forth. Right? So that has to be factored into anything and everything you do, of course. Okay. So the business identity, and we've talked about this in the context of a big why and a superpower. Your business identity is really, why are you in real estate? Right? Who do you want to help? How do you add value? Right? So if you don't know these things, then not only are you not clear, but guess what? Your target audience won't be clear as to what's this person, what makes that person important for me to be in a relationship with, right? And if you can't articulate it, 9 out of 10 cases, neither can your target audience, and that leaves a lot of doubt out there, right? Are you truly the right person? Okay. It's a really quite an important factor. So, and with that, of course, your confidence starts wavering and your marketing feels kind of off because it doesn't have direction, it doesn't have clarity, it doesn't have purpose, doesn't have, a clear connection with the people that you're actually trying to reach. Right? With the identity, of course, the introductions feel natural because it's just what you do, what you are, how you work. Right? Your clients will trust you faster because, again, there's this clarity. There's this clear understanding as to this Peter guy, this is what he does, or Johnny or Mary, right? And that makes making decisions easier. From a previous episode, we've talked about it. There's only 3 decisions that exist, right? Is it a yes, is it a no, or is it a maybe? And you don't really want maybes. Okay, maybes are time wasters. They're inevitable, but you want people to make a decision. Even if they say no, then at least you're clear and you have an opportunity to learn how not to get no's and get yeses. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about income targets. It comes from one of the superpowers we talked about. We've talked about your big why, but by the numbers is really where all of the kind of business planning focus comes together, right? You want to know what is your annual gross commission income. That's what GCI stands for, gross commission income. Okay, so what is that? So part of that means that you need to know what expenses you have, what kind of living expenses, business expenses, operating expenses, marketing, yada, yada, yada. You can estimate these things. And, there's lots of averages. In the workbook, you'll find, some specifics that you can outline. In the larger business plan, there is a very detailed financial analysis that you can look at if you want to go that far. But again, quite frankly, if you took a tax return, the ones that you're supposed to fill in and provide to Revenue Canada, if you took one for self-employed commission salespeople, then you can see what the categories are that you can deductions for, and then look at your typical living expenses. Then you have a general idea what kind of categories of expenses you're going to run into. Right, they're right in front of you. You're not making this up. So, with that, you can then start filling in some blanks. In various places, we've already talked about what kind of expenses you will have. You've got your licensing, your brokerage, your marketing, your website, your car, your cell phone, your internet, yada yada. There's a whole gamut of them. And it's not uncommon that this, aside from your brokerage fees, that your operating expenses will be somewhere around 40 to 60% of your gross commission income. Okay. So, and it depends a little bit on how and where you generate leads from, because if you start paying for leads by way of pay-per-click or some form of paid advertising that generates leads with, then obviously your cost per lead, therefore per transaction, goes up quite significantly, and that will have an impact on your ratios, of course. But that may be worth your while. Okay, but again, you've got to know, right? So you want to know what your income goals are, monthly, annually, weekly, right? And with that, you then will know, okay, what is a transaction worth, right? How much do I earn out of a transaction on average? Is it $5,000? Is it $10,000? Right? What is my net in my pocket on average? Okay. Then if you know what your income objectives are, then you know what number of transactions you need to do on a monthly basis. And then you can start converting that into how many tasks, roles, activities do you need to perform each and every day in order to come up with the money that you need to earn, right? So that's really one of the more. It's not actually complex. It's very rational, very logical, right? We know that on average, and again, you start with the average and then you start filling in your own numbers eventually. But if you have 100 people in a database and you're in regular contact with that group of people, out of that 100 people, each and every year, there will be somewhere between 7 to 10 people that will either do a real estate transaction themselves or will trigger a referral to somebody that's going to buy or sell. Okay. Now, reality is that you won't actually even have an opportunity to upwards to about half of those. So realistically, you have between 4 to 5 very distinct possibilities to to do a deal out of each and every 100 people that are in your sphere of influence that you contact regularly. And regularly means upwards to about 24 to 33 times a year. Okay, so that's actually a fairly accurate description. But that tells you a lot of things right there, right? So 100 people times 33 contacts per year, that's 3,300 contacts. That should generate somewhere between 3.5 to 5 commission checks in your pocket. Okay? Now, what is a commission check worth? Well, that will depend on your local marketplace. I can't tell you. Here in Victoria, right now it's somewhere around $9,000, $10,000 per transaction on average. Okay, obviously lower with the lower price range, a little bit higher with higher price ranges, but rough and dirty, that's about it. And then you have your office split, your operating expenses, and then the rest you put in the bank and you pay your taxes and your operating expenses. So now you have some connection, right? You have 33 contacts, right, for a reasonable expectation of a transaction, and you need to have somewhere around 100 people to do somewhere around 3.5 to 5 transactions. Now, that's 5 transactions is obviously, if it's $8,000, that's $40,000 in gross commission. You're not going to be able to live on that. Okay, I'm just telling you that's you're going to go broke. Now, here is a scary statistic. Okay, the vast majority of real estate agents do not do any deals per year. Okay, so this is where it gets real harsh and real brutal. Okay, you have absolute control over it, but only by the way of you connecting with people, conversations, appointments, interactions, real relationships on the consumer's terms, not on your terms. Keep in mind that you can't force a buyer to buy or a seller to sell. You can only be there in service to their plans and their objectives, which makes it so important for you to understand that, right, pressure doesn't work, as a matter of fact, in general, right? So, but therefore, spending a lot of time with people that are not going to buy or sell you're not being rude or obnoxious if you then say, well, I've got to scale that to a level so that I am in touch with enough people that will buy or sell and give myself the opportunity to make that happen for my business. Okay. It's a reality of your business. Again, your database is your most valuable asset, but what you need to protect most, even beyond your database, is your time. Because there's only so many hours that you can work. And as I used to say sometimes, the good thing about real estate is that your time is flexible. You can work any 16 hours a day. Any 16 hours a day is fine. You can take a pick. And the other 8, you get to sleep. My point being that there is never enough time in a day to get everything done. So you have to prioritize, which is an important component to your business planning. It just is, right? Because you have to have these conversations. You have to have these appointments. You have to be able to show people homes or go on listing presentations or build relationships and nurture those relationships. You have to. It's not optional, right? Again, go back to the incubation time. If you have 100 people that you've never talked to, out of those 100 people, there will be 3.5 to 5 transactions. But if you've never talked to them about real estate and you need to build it up to 30, 35 interactions with them, that means a lot of work before that it's going to take place. Now, most people, even if they express that they have an interest in buying and selling, it still takes them 6 to 9 months before they actually are moved, before you actually get paid. Okay, so the consistency of these interactions therefore become really quite important. Right, so this is why we hammer so much on having a proper schedule that says on a day-to-day, on a weekly basis, this is how many people I need to be in touch with, in relationship with. And I need to filter them and make sure that they are actually interested in my services now or in the near future. And if they're not, that's okay. Then they go on a slower schedule, and I need to fill in that void with somebody that is more urgent. Okay, it has to be that way. Now that sounds really cold and detached, and I get that. Okay, I totally get that. Initially, it will feel that way, but this is part of your business: is recognizing who is and who isn't a priority for your business. Personally, they may be a very high priority, and there's nothing wrong with you helping people from time to time, for whatever reason. But just keep in mind that somewhere along the way, you need to find enough people to talk to that are interested in buying and selling with you in the next shortest possible time in order for you to be able to close some solid business in order to pay the bills. Okay? Now, when we talk about lead sources, that can be a whole gamut of things. We've talked about using your superpower. If you have a hobby, an interest, a passion, something that you're really connected to with a large enough audience, then you can take that superpower, that audience, that set of connections that you have, and you convert that connection into something that also relates to real estate. Then you can very quickly and very easily convert people's top of mind awareness and your top of preference awareness with those people so that you become the agent of choice in those groups. That can happen actually relatively quickly. And it doesn't really matter what those interests are. I've told stories about a fellow that was a chef cook and who couldn't cook anymore and started to use open houses as cooking events. There's people that have used, their love for their dog as a way to connect with a large group of people. I've seen people that do historical walks through communities, and that connects them to a large audience, and so on. So it's whatever you want it to be. Now, that's kind of a slower pace, right? If you wanted to make sure that you are in touch with people that need to buy or need to sell in a big hurry, well, then you need to go after much more distinct targets. Let me give you an example. If somebody goes through foreclosure, there's the seller that is going through that foreclosure, so has some financial challenges. They don't have many options, right? Either they let it go to the bank and they lose all options, or they work diligently with a quality realtor. So if you find who is potentially going through foreclosure and you target them, the probability of you having a high success rate is pretty good in getting listings. Now, you also have to have rather thick skin, because a lot of those people are in denial. They don't actually want to talk to you. They don't actually want to admit that they're in trouble. So they're not always very cooperative. Okay? Some are. Now, if you want to take that one step further, where do all the foreclosure properties end up at one point in time or another? Well, in the hands of lawyers. It's just the way it is, right? So would you want to build good networking relationship with a whole bunch of lawyers in your area, in your region, in your community, so that they possibly will give you the referrals to the listing to the properties that actually do go through court foreclosures, right? And then, of course, CMHC, for example, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporations, they insure a lot of properties that ultimately end up going through foreclosure. So would you want to be on the preferred list of that organization? Well, that's just one niche in the industry where you can take foreclosures and people in financial challenges as a target audience, and three very distinct and different approaches. Now, you know that these properties are going to sell, period, full stop. They will sell. That's one of the good things about it. But it's the reality of it is, of course, also that you have a bit more competition and pretty sophisticated competition, because the people that work that field will specialize in it, right? So it doesn't mean that you can't break into it, but you know, it's not a barren territory. There will be other players, and that's okay. I mean, in Victoria alone, there's what 1,800 realtors, I think, right now. So you're gonna run into competition all day, every day. Everybody knows a realtor, right? Everybody knows a realtor. Trust me, there's not a single person in your community that doesn't already know a realtor. So you need to find a way to stand out. So you having a niche, having, a specialty, that's definitely an advantage. Okay. Are you the open house guy, or are you the person that goes after expired listings or divorces or estates or the aging or the first time home buyers or the builders or the developers? They're all niche marketplaces that you can absolutely find lead sources, right? A lot of people think, well, if I just advertise online, then I'll get lots of buyers. Maybe. Typically, I relate lead generation online to what we used to do, when the internet didn't exist. Is go window shopping, right? You went up and down shopping streets, or you went to the mall on Saturday and walked through the mall and you saw new stuff, right? The electronics and books and fashion and gizmos and gadgets and what have you. Well, now we use Amazon on the internet, right? So, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're ready, willing, and able buyers. We're just curious, right? So to take a lead from the internet and actually turn them into a buyer or a seller, that's actually a long incubation time. Again, this is where the 6 to 9 months period comes in. So having enough interactions, enough conversations, therefore means that over time you're going to get these people to come to you as ready, willing, and able buyers. Okay, I hope all of this makes sense. Which again goes back to this time allocation. Okay. Now, let me give you a really simplistic approach, okay? And this will work for many, many agents if you learn nothing else. If you have a number, as in, this is what I want to earn per month. And if that means, okay, that's translates into 1 deal or 2 deals or 3 deals per month, okay? Well, I think that if you aimed at 1 deal a month, then you can probably get away with making 3 new contacts per day, 5 days a week. That is 15 people per week that you make an initial contact with in some way, shape, or form. Whether it is you casually reaching out or deliberately reaching out or other people reaching out to you, right? And then having a follow-up program that allows you to get in touch and stay in touch with them. So 15 people a week over a month, that is anywhere between 60 to 75 people, depending on whether it's a 4 or 5 week month, right? So that's somewhere around 700 people in your database within a year. That's not bad. That's really not bad. That goes on top of the people that you already know, like, and trust. So it's, you're starting to really look at numbers, because again, think about what we just talked about, right? You have upwards to 3.5 to 5 transactions on average out of every 100 people that you are in touch with on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So if you now have 700-800 people in your database, right? So now you're looking at 24 to 40 transactions out of that database. That's not bad. That's easy money. Because here's, again, me being simplistic. If you did 1 deal a month on average, right? You're not going to do a deal in your first month or even in your second month. But if by the end of the year you've done 12 transactions, you've probably paid all the bills and then some. It's not a luxury living, but you're okay, right? You're kind of hanging on, but you're also have many reasons to be proud of yourself, of your accomplishments and your results. Now, if you can push it to 1.5, 2 deals a month, now things are starting to look up. You're actually paying all the bills and then some. You actually have a living that you're making with a little bit of room to spare, right? Now, if you can push it to 3 deals a month, right, 36 ends, now you're really cooking. Because there's two things that are going to happen. First and foremost, you're not generating more leads necessarily. You're just closing the ones that you get better, faster, smoother. It's more of a business, more of an operation, right? So you're not actually spending more money on marketing, advertising, promotions, and whatever else. You might spend a little bit more on assistance, but there's a story about that as well. They need to pay for themselves. It's a long short of that, of course. But think about this. If you did somewhere between 36 to 40 deals a year times 8,000, right? Now you're looking at 200,000 plus in money. That's real money. And you can afford a very comfortable lifestyle at that point in time. So it is quite doable. And it is not really about working much more or harder. It is more focused. It's more on point. It's a challenge in the first year. It's doable in the second, and it's very attainable in the third. Absolutely. It will take time, and it will take allocation of time. So we talk about the 10 to 15 hours a week in dedicated lead generation and servicing. Right? Now, ideally, you have a scheduled period of time each and every day that you dedicate to lead generation, and then some dedicated time to lead servicing, i.e., you're servicing the lead by showing property, qualifying, getting appointments, improving the relationship in one way or another. Okay, so and then actually showing homes and writing contracts, of course. Okay. Now, what is your client experience like? Well, this is another part because, again, you can do all the activities, but if the consumer says, well, that's boring, or where's the benefit to us to work with this person, right? How are they feeling about working with you? Are they excited to work with you? Are they seeing the value? Are they seeing the benefit? Are they as loyal to you as you are to them? And again, this is in a time and period in the marketplace where throughout North America, the conversation around written agency agreements with buyers is a hot topic, right? In the United States, it's all but a mandatory issue or becoming a mandatory issue. The discussion is still somewhat ambiguous here in Canada, but it's coming. The writing's on the wall. And I honestly think it's a good thing, because if the norm becomes that buyers need to have buyer agency agreements, the buyers will accept that, right? The buyers, it is what it is, right? Oh, another form, another piece of paper. Oh, loyalty. The good thing is that you won't have, 20 agents chasing 5 buyers and showing, these 5 buyers different properties, and nobody knows who's working with whom anymore, right? So it will actually make life a little better. But okay, so what value proposition do you have to attract and retain consumers, clients, targeted audiences to your services, to your bundle, your package, your product, being you and whatever else that you have to offer, to make the experience of their move, their purchase, their sale, one that they go, wow, that was just amazing. That was just fantastic. I'm going to recommend this person to my friends, my family, because that's what you want, right? So what does that service delivery mean? Because yes, a wow service today means referrals in the near future, right? It's that important, and it will make your life, your business dramatically more positive. Okay, so what are your operating procedures, your systemized operations that deal with your weekly, your daily rhythms, right? What does your admin look like? What does your follow-up look like? And so on as well. That's what you want to start articulating in your business plan, right? So that your business plan becomes now an extension of your operating systems, and you hold basically your business plan accountable to your activities. You look at, this is what I set out as my targets, my objectives. I'm going to work on lead generation every morning from 9 to 11. Okay, let's say that, right? On 5 days a week, that's 10 hours a week. That's a pretty darn good start. And then on the weekends, you do maybe 1 or 2 open houses if you so desire. Okay, so that gives you all the lead generation that you want. Okay, then how much time do I need for follow-ups and writing notes and so on and so forth? How much time do I need for admin and forms and preparing of presentations and all of that type of stuff? And then how much time do I dedicate to showings and listing presentations and appointments, and what time of the day do those things? And then, yeah, you also need to have time with the family and for yourself and so on and so forth. So all of that all becomes part and parcel of your operating systems. And the more you schedule it, the more you block it, the more likely it is that it will happen. Okay? It's actually, once you get into the habit and the rhythm of these things, your systems, your structure, your infrastructure, your operational discipline will become very much a routine, and it, in its own right, actually becomes inspiring. Right? You're going to be striving to get your checklist and your operational activities completed sooner, better, higher returns, higher results, and so on and so forth. Okay. So here's an example of a rhythm for, say, for example, you use X number of hours on Monday for lead generation, but then you also add some planning, some CRM work, some admin work. Then again, of course, on Tuesday and Thursday, you do some more lead generation and have some appointments. Right? On Friday, you do some learning, some follow-up stuff, and then of course your weekends you do open houses and showings. Now that's a very straightforward, simplified structure. Okay, and it's yours, not mine. We're just giving you some idea as to what that looks like. But what must happen every day? How many conversations do you have to have? How many follow-ups do you have to have? How much does your CRM need to be updated, right? In the previous episode, we talked about your CRM as being really the core of your business. If you ignore your CRM, there's no way that you can stay connected and relevant with the people that you're dealing with. There's just no way. They can't remember it all. It can't all be on index cards and emails and text messages. It just becomes a mess, right? So, and then, what do you need to know? What do you need to experience so that you become a master at whatever it is that you go after? So you want to become a master at, we talked about foreclosures, for example. If you don't know what that feels, acts, and operates like, well, what do you need to know? What do you need to do? What do you need to have to become a master at it, right? So you would talk to the lawyers, you would talk to, the CMHC, and you would do all the research. And you look at the the processes of the courts and how foreclosures are actually registered and so on and so forth, and what options and opportunities the general public has to avoid foreclosures and so on and so forth, and what you may be able to bring to the table to help people through that process. Okay? That will take a little bit of time, but it's now that you've made that your target, and we're using this as an example, but if that is become your target, then absolutely you now have a clear pathway of becoming the expert that truly can add value to the individual consumers that are affected by foreclosures, so that they can either avoid it or come through it without losing all of their credit, and at least be able to potentially buy another home at some point in time in the future. Okay. And then, of course, on a weekly basis, you want to think about, how do you track your progress, right? How many conversations did you have? How many appointments did you set? How many did you keep? How many new clients? How many listings? And so on and so forth, right? So that then gives you the opportunity to establish what worked, right? What didn't work? What do you need to stop doing? What do you need to start doing, right? And again, when you have measurable, trackable information, it becomes not a guess, not a maybe this or maybe that, or it's not an estimate. No, you're going by your own personal, verified, honest, sincere data. And by the way, there's also no judgment. There's no need for judgment, right? And I hear quite a few agents beating themselves up over, well, I didn't make the phone calls because this, that, or whatever. Well, it is what it is. We move on, right? Now, is there a way that we can be a little bit more on track? Is there a way that we can help you so that your priorities are truly your priorities, and you respect them that way, or you operate in that understanding, right? And the numbers will do the talking. It's actually pretty magical. Okay. Now, as far as compliance, of course, once you start thinking in terms of, okay, here's my target audience, this is what I want to do with it, this is how it's going to happen. Yeah, have a conversation with your managing broker and say, this is what I'm planning on doing. Is there anything I need to pay special attention to make sure that I'm compliant on these issues? Then, your provincial regulator, sometimes your real estate board, they can give you maybe some pointers as to making sure that you're not breaching anything. For the most part, it's common sense, particularly when it comes to marketing and advertising. Most of the regulators will have very distinct rules and requirements that you have to follow. Same with brokerages. In most cases, it's a matter of doing a quick run through with your managing broker, and they will be able to tell you what you can, what you can't. They will be able to tell you whether or not your scripts or your advertising, your how you display your brokerage and your name, and bring in incentives that you may not have properly clarified, and so on and so forth, proper disclosures, and so on and so forth. But that won't take a lot of time. But I would encourage you to do it before you start spending big money on printing, or getting things somewhat cast in stone. So do that before you spend money on it, so that by the time that it actually gets in production, everybody is okay with it. Everybody is ready for it, right? Will probably take a day extra, but it's very well worth preparing that for those things. Okay, so here's your one-page snapshot. Here's a really quick overview, right? You need to know what your income goals are. Now, once you know your income goals, figure out how many deals are required to have that income, okay? And it's a simple division, okay? You want to make $150,000, and the average income per transaction in your community is $7,500. So it's just $150,000 divided by 75 100 gives you 20 deals. Okay, got to do 20 deals. In order to do 20 deals based on the average that we have, okay, I'm going to get three and a half deals out of 100 people. So I need somewhere around 800 people, and I need to be in touch with them 33 times over the year. Okay, 800 times 33 is somewhere around 21,000 interactions. 24,000 interactions, and you divide it by 12. You divide it then by 4 weeks, and so on and so forth. And then you will know how many interactions you need to make per day in order to be on track. And then you start putting the wheels in motion. It sounds overwhelming. It's not that bad. It really is not that bad. It typically boils down to 15 to 20 interactions per day, which, in this business is certainly not out of line. Some of that you can do at your desk. Some of it you will actually have to get into your car or on your bike or on the street and in the shopping center or meeting with people, right? Then what are your service standards, right? How many services do you provide that are exemplary, so that people will be interested in wanting to do business with you, right? What does that look like? Okay, so again, what's your income goal? Figure that out. How many deals does it require to get there? Then multiply that by the number of conversations that will take. Yeah, you establish where you want those leads to come from is an important part. So again, if it is the general public at large, then that has a lower conversion success ratio than, for example, people that already know, like, and trust you, right? So between your sphere of influence that you already have a relationship with and brand new people, that's where the magic touch are going to be. So when you get a little bit deeper into this, if you have 500 people in your database that love you for whatever reason, from your sports, from soccer, or from hockey, or you name it, right? And you have great relationship with, and you now are able to bring them into your sphere of influence, into your top of mind awareness, that they truly prefer you over any other realtor if and when real estate came about. Well, then, right, those are going to generate more results than people that you've never met, right? You're going to get more referrals. Well, what are you going to do with the referrals? How are you going to reward those, right? So that's part of your service standards, right? So you see how you relatively quickly can come up with a fairly straightforward connection between your business plan and your day-to-day activities. Now, again, in the manual, you're going to find a lot of these fill-in-the-blank type tools for yourself, right? What are your listing targets? What are your buyer targets, your referral targets, conversations, sphere of influence touches, how many open houses are you going to do, and so on and so forth. Daily activities, weekly activities, and so on. This tool will help you very much become very clear as to what to spend your time and energy onto, provided that you complete it, that you fill it in. And don't get intimidated by it. That's not the point. The point is to help you, right? And if you don't like what it says, then okay, then let's have a look at it. No harm in you giving us a call or reaching out to us, and we'll offer, upwards to about an hour that we can talk about it. And hopefully we can help you out in some way, shape, or form to get clarity on it. Okay. So some of the mistakes that some people make with business plans is keep chasing your tactics without a plan, right? So, I'm going to do for sale by owners. Okay. How are you going to do that? What are you going to do? Who are you going to do? Right? Being busy but not productive. And I'm going to single out one thing that I see many, many realtors wasting time on, right? Doing all of this social media stuff, hours and hours of doing likes and funny smiles and making comments. It's aimless. It does not focus people's attention on you being the realtor of choice. So, I mean, I'm not falling out with social media or blogging or vlogging or doing videos or doing what have you. If it has a really distinct, targeted focus that it draws people to you, right? Different set of parameters. If you make decisions based on emotion rather than rational logic, common sense, productivity, comparing yourself too much with others, particularly others that are irrelevant or in different marketplaces or are doing things that you will never do, right? There's no point comparing you with somebody that I don't know, specializes in commercial real estate, and so they're doing something that you're not doing. Is I guess what I'm getting. Many agents quit too soon, right? We've talked about incubation time. Brand new prospect from nothing to close transaction. It's not unheard of that it will take 6 to 9 months, sometimes even longer. Okay. Well, if you contacted a person today and then again maybe a month from now and then nothing for 3 months, guess where you're at? You're back to 6 to 9 months. Or you've lost them altogether to somebody else because the other person will have stayed in touch with it, right? So once you go down this path, stay in touch. Absolutely stay in touch, right? Okay, so what are the best practices to stay on track and to therefore succeed with? Well, review your plan weekly. Adjust it monthly, but keep it simple. Keep it really simple. Keep it as simple as possible. Focus on execution, the task. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Keep doing it. Right? I need 5 calls. Okay. Make the 5 calls. Okay. Go after your appointments. Become the expert that you want to be in whatever, right? So focus on the execution and then track the progress and be honest. Nobody's watching over your shoulder. Be honest, at least to yourself. Okay. And if you need help, ask for it. It's just, I don't know what else to say. You got to ask. So, you probably have heard this story before, but there's this set of art students that are encouraged to create the best vase or pot, in a pottery class, and one group is given one amount of clay, and they're told, well, create one vase and it's got to be perfect. The other group gets a somewhat unlimited supply of clay and said, make as many vases as you like, and then submit what you think is the best one. And at the end of whatever period of time they were given, these products were compared with each other, and of course the one group that made dozens, if not hundreds, of vases made a much better vase in the end than the group that decided to go after, to build the perfect one. Progress beats perfection. Just keep doing it. Keep making vases, making contact, building relationships. It will get better. It will get easier. It's not easy in the beginning. I get that, but you will get there. So hopefully you now have some clarity. Hope that you take whatever it is, a couple of hours to complete the business plan, get some clarity on numbers. And if you're not clear on numbers now, then that's homework in its own right? What is the average commission in your community, in your town? What does it take to actually start making a living? What are the operating expenses that are typical? What are, what kind of things am I going to run into as far as numbers? Then define some lead sources and pick one or two that you can go after. Aside from, your friends and family, who else are you going to be working with is, I guess, what I'm getting at. What is your daily operating is, and then a way to measure success and measure activity, right? This way, you're absolutely no longer guessing, and your success, quite frankly, is going to be almost inevitable, right? You're going to feel better because of all of these things. Okay, so our next session is going to be working on daily execution, right? We're going to take your plan to task. We're actually going to run tasks out of that. So we start more talking about time blocking, prospecting discipline, momentum building, and the planning is maybe done by the end of this session. Hopefully that you will take the time, and now we need to go to work and actually start putting it into place. So again, thank you so very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. If there is anything that we can help with, looking forward to talking to you and working with you. Check out the workbook. There's really good help with it. If you need further assistance, reach out. We're here to help you anytime, any place. And if anything else, have a fantastic week. All the best.
File saved. The Agent Files. For more missions, agents' tools, and tactical strategies, subscribe and follow the Agent Files, powered by Agent Builder Coaching. Until next time, stay sharp. Your next mission awaits.